Angela, I am so happy to see you. I have to tell you, you bring a smile to my face every time I see you, even if it's on a Zoom call. You look great. And I have to think that retired life is suiting you very well. How are you?
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty good. Yeah, along with retired life and COVID, the last 5 months have been, a lot of soul searching and a little bit of relaxation. But I'm able to get out and do some exercising. So yeah, I feel pretty good. Thank you.
I know among the many things that have been going on, you did lose your mom very recently, Donna. And I know what kind of a role she's played in your whole life, your heart, your soul.
Yeah.
If you could explain to the audience who Donna Barato was, what would you say?
Well, for me, now I'm gonna get all emotional. For me, she was my everything really. She'd be the one that I could speak to and not have any judgment on her end. The one that would always be there to defend me. She just loved me unconditionally, and she raised five of us in our family, and she had probably the toughest upbringing than anybody that I know of, and she was always there for us. And right up until we lost her, we just thought that she was going to live forever.
Well, you've also told me that she protected you from a lot of racial tensions, that you actually didn't grow up feeling the burden of that. And you think that's because of your mom.
Well, yeah. Also, with my mom being on top of things, but also, I had a big bad daddy that would always come to my rescue as well. And Mr. Leo James was well known back then, and so as far as racially, I was protected a little bit. Now he wasn't. He was from rural Mississippi, and that was really tough for him. But with myself growing up, there's some circumstances that I had to overcome racially, not so much even racially, but more really as a female, especially in sport. I think that came into play. The racial probably was secondary because they would attack a female first. This is why you can't do these things, versus that you're a person of color. Then if the female thing didn't work, well, then they can go on to the next thing. Well, yeah, but now you're a person of color. So, it was tough, but I grew up in a tough neighborhood. So everybody had their issues. So a lot of times race wasn't the number one issues.
Mm.
It was really just survival mode and money and, being raised by a parent or having food in your mouth and a roof over your head and so on and so forth.
Can you expand a little bit more on the feeling of being told no because you're a girl, because you're a woman? What form did that take for you?
Well, going back to my mother again, when we were told no back in the days where I played in the Fleming Boys House League,
Mhm.
and probably 2 years after that, that's when Justine Blaney fought for her right to play in a boys' league. So back then, no, my mother, as soon as she found out, first of all, my mother wasn't even aware of um, that I could even play hockey back then. So then once I started playing hockey and she was, involved in the association and, all of a sudden they said, well, you can't play hockey because you're a girl. But really and truly, the reason why they said that was because I was the top scorer, I was the top hitter, and it was more that than it was well, the fact that I was a girl and doing that basically said you're not playing because you're a girl, but it was really because I was very good at playing the game back then against the boys.
So along the way, you established yourself at Seneca College, where you actually remained until your retirement just recently. Um, what was that experience for you? Because I know you went to Seneca for both hockey, where you tore it up, and for softball, where you also tore it up. You're a Hall of Famer there.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't think that words can really express my career at Seneca College.
Mhm.
They were very good to me. They allowed me to still be employed while I played on the national team, still be employed while I played on the provincial teams. They allowed me time off to explore my dreams. Still maintaining a career there and a job. Um, you know, it was tough. It was a tough decision to even retire, but I thought, you know what, this half of it, I was there for 34 years. Why not try to see what happens? COVID kind of just came out of nowhere, and losing my mom and stuff. And I thought, what a great opportunity to try something different.
Mm.
I didn't realize that being at home was so hard though, because uh, these hands, this pan hands already, but yeah, I was very fortunate to be a part of a great team for so many years. And some of the people are still there, and once all this is over, I will go back.
How would you describe your playing style? Because, there's plenty of, well, she's the Wayne Gretzky of women's hockey, or she's the Mark Messier of women's hockey. How do you describe yourself?
Well, it's funny because I've been watching a little bit of the different series that have been going on. Um, Now, it was like the 1970s and 1980s, and I was watching the style of their play, and that's how I played. The game's totally different now. It's
Mhm.
it's really like, let's run around with our heads cut off as fast as we can, and let's just see what happens. Whereas, when I'm looking at the type of contact that was happening in some of those games and the stick work, and if any of those kids got that today, they wouldn't know what hit them, because I was like, my God, like their arms must just be falling off. They probably can't even feel them for the number of slashes that were going on, and hooks and body checks. And, you're not going to see a whole lot of nice flow, because, people are just picking themselves up off the ice. So that's the kind of style, and that's the kind of game that I used to be playing back in the day. I would say a combination of like a Mark Messier. I had pretty good hands. I used to like the Rocker Richard or the Pavel Bure of the world, but I was nowhere near as skilled as him. But I used to like the way he played. So, but Mark Messier was one of my faves.
Well, I'm going to bring up another comparison because uh, it's worth noting. And I know this is a painful memory for you to relive over and over again. So I apologize, but it's important to note that you were the leading scorer leading into um, the camp for the Nagano Olympics. And you were left off that team and upsetting many people. And people have said it's like Wayne Gretzky being left off the Olympic team. You've had many years to reflect. What do you think happened? You didn't deserve to be left off that team.
Yeah, I don't think I did either. And I know that my family and my closest friends and a lot of people around Canada were really upset about this. You know what? I'm not very good at playing politics. I know that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just me. So I don't really know the political reason behind it. I know that Shannon and the coaching staff were probably directed to go in a different direction in terms of female hockey, female look, female a lot of things. I could say that. Somebody who was in the operations had the that I had the pleasure of talking to over the years, actually called me up many years later and wanted to talk about the situation. Actually, two gentlemen, Murray Costello and Dick Pound, and very classy guys. And from what I was told was that they wanted to go in a different direction, and I got caught up in it. In saying that, you know, that's political. So, you know, do I have to have representation from this group? And do I need to have representation from this province? Do I need to have, you know, and so maybe when it got all the way down, it came to, well, you know, like I didn't have a coach fighting in my corner for myself, but maybe other people did for them. And maybe it was a numbers thing.
Well, your successes, I mean, marked, as you mentioned, with the IIHF Hall of Fame. 2010, one of the first two women entered into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Describe, if you can, in a nutshell, that moment. I know it's not the call, you were not expecting it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I remember the day I was playing hooky from work and I was at a bar and it was we were just there and we never ever brought up the Hockey Hall of Fame, and Ange brought it up and I was just like going, oh, excuse me, and she just said, yeah, do you know that they're announcing that? And I'm like, oh, no. Like, you know, I would never ever talk about it, and just came home and I was, you know, watching TV or doing something, and yeah, and I got the call. Absolutely a life changer for myself and the rest of the women's hockey community, and you know, it's only going to get better and stronger.
Well, before we go, I want to make sure that I sort of come full circle, because, you know, at the beginning of your life, the Flemington Park Arena is where you played 24/7. And that arena is now called the Angela James Arena. So, I mean, of course, the Hockey Hall of Fame, that call is a big one, but to look up and see the Angela James Arena, what does that feel like?
Yeah, that's really cool. And you know what, I get to keep that for the rest of my life, and my family does as well. You know, my sister and Andrew Fairborn were instrumental in getting that name changed. My sister Kim Barato, and she used to run Flemington Park, as far as I'm concerned, and I think other people will say the same thing. So they were the ones that spearheaded that and got that done, and so that's why I always feel that it's not just myself; it's a community naming, and but it really is cool that you know, that was named after myself, and you know, that I'm even getting to see it while I'm alive.
Well, all of them well deserved. I'm going to leave you with this question, Angela, as we're leaving all of our guests. What is the best advice that you now would offer to a young Angela James? Younger Angela James.
You know what? Don't be afraid to be you, because you can do what you want to accomplish by being you. Don't feel that you have to be somebody else. But there's going to be times where you have to be, but come back to you, and just keep believing in yourself, and surround yourself around people that care about you, and make sure that you find out who they are.
Well, you are so you, and I so appreciate you, and I thank you for your time, Angela. Sending you and your family all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tara.
When I hear the name Angela James, I think pioneer, I think dominance. You know, she was just an incredible player, just an all-around player, and a great leader and a great teammate. And I think someone who has done so much in so many positions within the women's game.
Angela is somebody who rose from, you know, very humble beginnings but always carried herself with dignity, class, and worked hard for everything that she earns.
She always stands up for what's right. She's a very genuine person, and she's very supportive of those around her. So I think all those characteristics have really enabled her to succeed, and definitely carved the life she's lived so far.
James straight in on Sarah Teeding. Deke scores! Angela James gets the first goal in the shootout for Canada.
Big, strong, fast. She's got great hands. She can stick handle in tight spaces. I remember she scored a goal from center ice, slap shot, top corner. So she was ahead of her time by far. Back then women didn't have the status that they have now in ice hockey, and people would say she played like a boy or like a man. She was a complete player.
I knew she was a superstar here in Canada, but I think to be recognized in the world, I think that was when I knew that she was a superstar.
That was huge. I know we were all super excited, including her, because that was really a big leap for women's hockey and just women's sport in general, to really get the recognition they deserve. Because she, my mom was kind of, back then in the day, she was more so like a trailblazer for that, and just with her status, there's a lot of labels and adversity she had to come through. So just being able to see that happen and continuing leaps for the women's game to happen, I know she was super happy for that, and we all were too.
We knew that Angela was a force to be reckoned with, but nobody else did, unfortunately. She didn't have the spotlight that young players have today. Hockey was really under the radar for women, but Angela stood out. She dominated.
I think we don't grow up ever, at least my generation and for sure her generation, grew up thinking that the Hockey Hall of Fame is impossible. I remember sitting at home watching that ceremony on TV with tears streaming down my face, and happened to be very pregnant with a little girl, and thinking to myself that, she's going to be able to grow up and do whatever she wants as long as it's healthy for her. And so it was kind of a real surreal personal moment for me to see a good friend, to see a true pioneer of the women's game get in. I think there should be a movie about Angela James, and why there hasn't really been one that's sort of national TV network. I mean, she's kind of the Gordie Howe, the Mark Messier, the Wayne Gretzky of women's hockey. And, I just think her story needs to be told. It needs to be told a lot more. And she's a role model, not only for female hockey, but I think for so many people in this country, and her story definitely needs to be talked about a lot more.